Today, new glimmering peaks of creativity discovered as we consider the notion, but what if evil Mickey? This is Checkpoint. Welcome to Checkpoint. It's 2024, and you know what that means.
It's Knuckles' 30th anniversary!
You're goddamn right it is. Walt Disney hasn't even been dead 60 years, and already people are ruining his legacy. Many of them current and former executives of the company, but also, now, the developers responsible for the upcoming Infestation Origins, an asymmetrical horror game where a team of exterminators fight an onslaught of rats and one very big black and white mouse. As you're doubtless aware by now, it's Mickey Mouse's 95th anniversary, and he is now in the public domain. Viewer, please now imagine me crushed into atoms by an asterisk the size of God, because no, Mickey Mouse is not in the public domain. His first animated short, Steamboat Willie, is, meaning you can distribute it, remix it, use ideas and images from it, like that specific iteration of Mickey Mouse, but you can't go, hey look, it's Disney's Mickey Mouse, because Disney still has a trademark on Mickey, and they still use Mickey, and they still employ lawyers. But you can have a big black and white mouse with huge fangly teeth for every teenager's first go-to idea for what to do with a beloved children's character. What if we made them evil and creepy? It happened with Winnie the Pooh. Someday it will happen with Barney. If it was ever done with any care, it might even be decent. But for now, Infestation Origins looks like the cynical cash grab everybody was expecting. And the kind of thing you probably could have done before and just claimed it was parody.
According to SteamDB, over 14,000 titles have launched in 2023 on Steam. They determined that number by adding up everything in your list of unplayed games. When asked how long it would take to play all those games to completion, our expert replied, most of those games are asset flips that you probably can't play past the title screen. It's me, I'm the expert. When it comes to unplayed games, you shouldn't be listening to me. I had a show on this network called Beach's Backlog, for God's sakes. I'm as guilty as all of you. Anyway, Steam's count for this year is up from 2022's 12,500. If you were of a scientific bent, you might notice that the graph showing year-by-year new releases on Steam also tracks closely with rising global temperatures. Is it the case that Steam is responsible for our climate crisis? Yes, inasmuch as everything we do is. Except for trains. Trains fucking rule, man. Oh, and trains run on Steam! Hell yeah!
We finally have an update on the sordid tale of the sinking city, and it certainly sounds like good news. You would be forgiven for not recalling what happened, because a lot of this went down in August 2020, and everyone had some shit going on. So here's the Coles notes. Ukrainian studio Frogwares developed the Lovecraft-inspired action-adventure game The Sinking City, and French publisher Nacon, formerly Big Ben Interactive, published it. Frogwares alleged that Nacon was withholding royalties and acting with other parties as if they held the Sinking City intellectual property, so Frogwares wanted to cancel their contract and pull the game from Steam until they could control their own work. Unfortunately for them, it was a global pandemic, and the French government had put corporate protections in place, and Nacon said this meant Frogwares couldn't cancel the contract for reasons. Plus, the courts ruled the game had to stay up for sale while this was sorted out, so Frogwares told their fans not to buy it, and eventually issued a DMCA takedown to get their own game removed from Steam. But now, they've won, and have issued a statement on the game's Steam page that they, Frogwares, are the sole owner and self-publisher of The Sinking City. They're going to release a new version with patches and bug fixes, and your old saves won't work with the new version, but the old version will still be included with it, and there will be prepared save files to download if you want to skip straight to playing the forthcoming DLC that they've also announced. For their part, Nacon have made no statement, but they also produced Gollum in 2023, so suffice to say they've been having a real one.
You can beat Tetris, you know? And by beat, I mean beat it into the ground until it packs up its gameplay loop and goes home. NES Tetris can freeze during a playthrough thanks to programming peculiarities about how it calculates scores during the game. And just recently, a 13-year-old named Blue Scooty live-streamed his successful crash after 40 minutes of gameplay, becoming the first person to ever beat Tetris. There's a long story to tell here, and thankfully Ars Technica details the winding road Tetris players have run, from surpassing the max speeds at level 29, to the technique known as hyper-tapping, to adopting another technique known as rolling from track and field world record holder Hector Fly Rodriguez, to weird color palettes above level 138, to the Stack Rabbit program tapping buttons at 30 times per second, only to discover that NES Tetris can just crash itself at level 237. Further research revealed that it's possible to crash as early as level 155 as long as you feed the scoring system the right number of lines during a level change. On his attempt, Blue Scooty missed the level 155 crash, but managed to hang in there for a few more seconds to crash at level 157. Keep in mind a few crucial things. One, when most record setters miss an optimal route, it can phase them, which can lead to mistakes. But Scooty kept his mind on the game. 2, the crash at 155 is guaranteed with the right number of lines, but after that, you may need a different number to cause the crash. Scooty might not even have been able to hit the right combo to cause the crash. And 3, like I mentioned before, Blue Scooty had been playing Tetris at maximum speed, constantly rolling for well over 30 minutes, and he had been making attempts prior to that on his stream before finally getting there. The intersection of concentration, precision, and stamina to play at this level is remarkable. Do yourself a favor and track down the VOD, not only to enjoy his reaction when he freezes the game, but also for the eventual celebration with his mom and his dogs. Top-notch gamer content right there.
This is great. Frogware's got their game back. A 13-year-old defeated Tetris. Bobby Kotick is gone. 2024 might be a great year for uplifting gaming news.
The head of Square Enix says he wants them to be aggressive in how much generative AI they use in developing games.
Well, we had a good run. See you next week.
Coming up, the eternally trapped in pre-production Minecraft movie finally has its main voice actor. And considering Steve is a bland, featureless self-insert who, for a while, wasn't even sure of his own name, it's finally the role Chris Pratt was born to play. Which is why it's going to Jack Black. Who's casting these things?
What excites me about the Minecraft movie, if it moves ahead with the current people, because there have been so many different people attached to it over
Rob
the years.
McElhenney was writing one at one point, yeah.
Is that this iteration of it supposedly is being directed by Jared Hess, who directed Napoleon Dynamite and who worked with Jack Black on Nacho Libre.
Right.
So that would be them reuniting, which would be cool.
Which means that this could be a little more, I don't want to say subversive take, but it could be like a more, it could feel like Jumanji in that respect, where it's like, it's a video game movie about being in a video game, perhaps, but it also wants to play with the conventions of it.
Yeah. And Jack Black's great, and he puts his whole ass into voice acting. But really, if you look at like Mario, Garfield, or Steve, who among those you're like, oh, Chris Pratt would be great for that? It'd be Steve.
Absolutely.
Not the other two.
No.
Anyway, I have another brief, fun piece of non-gaming related trivia. Sorry. I was writing that Sinking City story, and I was like, here's the Cole's notes.
Right.
Or is it Cliff's notes? Is it Cliff's notes or Cole's notes? Why do I...
You say Cole's notes.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But so here's the thing.
But why do we know it as Cole's notes?
Yeah, why and what are
Cliff's notes?
And what are Cliff's notes? Most viewers statistically probably don't know what Cole's notes are.
Yeah.
Because that's Canadian.
Yeah.
Because Cole's, the book
COLE', not KOHL apostrophe S.
COLES, now owned by Chapters, I think,
Yeah.
was a bookstore founded by a husband and wife, last name Cole, and they started in the 40s, I think, started putting together the Cole's notes of books, these like the short, the study guide, study assistant, the Cole's notes.
Yeah.
And then they were like, boy, I bet American school children would also like this. Hey, our employee, Cliff Hillegrass, will sell you the rights to do this in the U.S. And Cliff went, sounds great. I'm gonna name it after me. And went to the U.S. and started Cliff's Notes. So they're the same picture, basically. And I was like, is there a way that I can weave this into the story. And no, because it's not like he stole their idea. They were like, hey, we'll sell you the rights to do this in the States. And so everyone there is cool with it. And so I was like, oh, okay, this doesn't actually relate to the Frogwares story at all. But, I was like, huh.
Yeah.
Oh, I've learned something. But boy, I spent like 15 minutes going, is there a way I can work this in? Because it's such an interesting fact. But
which is funny because I don't know if just now you've given us the Cole's notes on Cole's notes or not.
I hope so.
It feels like it.
Doing what I can. But I was like, I'm going to go with Cole's notes because we're Canadian over here.
That'll confuse everybody.
Yeah.
At least the people in the comments who pause the video when a thing like that happens to go in and say, it's Cliff's notes.
It's Cliff's notes. Yeah. You foolish Canadians.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, a little light on the ground for actual gaming news this particular week.
And yet, in a way, a bit of a relief that there were stories that were interesting enough to talk about. Like, that's what's kind of nice.
Yeah.
I didn't. Okay, so I saw Blue Scooty not live do it, but I saw them.
You sold me. I want to go watch that VOD now.
It's really cool. And don't watch the whole thing because it's like over an hour before he gets to the point where he does it.
I'm not gonna,
right?
to be honest. Sorry, Scooty.
But yeah, I think I saw it linked off of somewhere on Mastodon, and it was like, you should see this. And I'm like, I want to see this. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's this kid. And not to be reductive, Scooty, if you're watching this, but it's this kid who's like a quarter my age who is absolutely killing it at this game that was invented around the time I was born. And just like, man, it feels really cool to see like the continual evolution of people playing and doing stuff. Which leaves a few things because he's the first one to make it free. Like, first human to actually make it freeze, but at level 157. So now the idea is like, well, how fast can you get to freeze is the one thing. You'd have to do it at 155. How long can you play before you freeze it? And because you could keep playing for quite some time, you can obviously keep going and then eventually freeze it, whenever you want is kind of a weird way to say it. But also, apparently, you can wrap the game at 255. If you drop whatever, it has to do a rollover, so it goes back to 0 and everything resets.
Wow!
It just comes back to 0, and then which I thought was very interesting about the Ars Technica article, because at the very end, Kyle Orland points that out, and it's like somebody refers to that as the ultimate cooperation between man and machine or something. It's like this idea of like, you've made it all the way through the gauntlet and you get to the very end and now you've reset and you come back to this harmony state. And I'm like, that's kind of interesting.
Also, for Beej's benefit and also for the benefit of literalists and the viewers, that was a roughly quarter Beej's age. Beej is not 52.
No.
Just putting it out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey, we're back. Thanks for being here. It's 2024. Subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends.
Oh, you should also...
Patreon.com/loadingreadyrun.
Some of you probably know that we do Magic content, and maybe you want to go to lrr.cc/Friday nights, because that's a link to our Friday Nights Returns Kickstarter, which is already funded by this point.
But you can get yourself a playmat.
Yeah, get in on the goods there.
Throw us a couple bucks because you want it to happen.
That's also important as well. So yes, we funded. We're going to be making it, but maybe you want to be listed in the credits.
I want to buy a new kit of lights.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers.